but still pretty cool. Hi guys.
Hey everybody.
Everybody.
So you guys would know we will be taking your questions in a second. A member of our PR team will bring you a microphone. So raise your hand if you have a question. Right there, over there, we have one microphone. They will bring that to you. You guys can ask your question that way. Now to start things off, this Wednesday night we had the team member preview for this event. And I heard a lot of screams coming from the Walking Dead house. So how excited are you guys to see, this is for Chandler and for Greg, how excited are you guys to see Season 5 of AMC's The Walking Dead come to life at HHN 25?
It's awesome for me because like I've gone through and like lived in, well, not lived in, but like I've gone through those places before and like interacted with the things that like, and just to see the environment recreated around me is a really cool experience.
You know, John said something very interesting today. We're talking about television. We're talking about the fact that when the difference between movies and TV. In TV, we're in your living room, we're in your kitchen, we're in your bedroom, we're in all these places in your house. So there's a familiarity with the material that we work on every single day. So the fact that fans that love the show get to experience it live action, that's great. I mean, you can't get any better than that. So, you know, Chandler and I, he flew down today. You know, we're still in the middle of shooting season 6, which premieres October 10th, 11th. October 11th. I got to give a little plug. On AMC. I'm allowed to do that?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, okay.
Do whatever you want.
I'll give you $20 later.
Thank you, sir.
For the ad time. Sorry, guys. No, but it's been a great season. We've been working really hard. So this is a little bit of a vacation for us because we get to come down and share with you guys the experience of seeing The Walking Dead live. So it's a really great honor. So thanks for everybody for having us here.
That's it.
I'm going to interrupt again, just to piss off Jim Timon. But what I have to tell you that for me, what's extremely cool about this night, not just Halloween Horror Nights, but this night, is Greg Nicotero, who I've known for many years, was this nerdy little kid in Pittsburgh who was fascinated by makeup and horror effects.
I'm still nerdy, by the way, but that's okay.
And he came to LA and started this makeup company with 2 other guys called K&B. And they were the guys, I mean, they had to compete. So the first of all, they were the guys who were the cheapest, so they got a lot of work. And then they actually got better and better and better. And, you know, they're the people who do all the work on Tarantino's movies, and just, these guys are great, and they work all the time. And so I've known Greg for a long time, pouring plaster and sculpting and shit. If you're filming,
I should be recording this.
If you're filming me, I'm not going to say anything nice.
You're not going to say anything nice anyway.
No, what I am going to say is Greg is now, he's still a creepy little nerd, but what's interesting, no, seriously,
I'm fine with that.
Very cool. What's cool for me is knowing him for how long? I mean, really a long time.
20 years.
Yeah, at least. And what's amazing is that Greg goes from being a gifted makeup artist, continues, he directed a little short, he goes down and keeps working, and now, you know, he's the executive producer of, what's it called, The Walking Dead? No, way more than that. How many, you've directed now, what, 14?
14
hours of that show. And it's like, I'm very proud. I'm very serious. It's great.
Thanks, John. We could have done without the what's it called before Walking Dead, but that's okay.
But something else about Horror Nights is there's so much love in the event.
This one, guess what?
You should do this in February on Valentine's Day next year.
Wait.
Halloween. Do like Valentine's Horror Nights.
When I met this one, Aiello, he was Elwood at the Universal Tour.
Oh yeah.
It's true. So I'm taking full responsibility for his entire career. And now you have a title. What do you call it? You have a new title.
Yeah, it's a really long one. Director of Creative Development for Universal Orlando Entertainment.
Yeah.
That's the official. It's a really long business card too. It's about that long.
Yeah.
Jim, who cares? No, actually.
That's why I love you, though.
No, actually, I've known Jim for many years too.
20.
Well, before you were here.
Yeah, LA.
Yeah, no, it's. So I'm delighted to be here. And have you? Who has not been to Halloween Horror Nights?
Oh, excellent. All right, I'm going to go through the maze with all of you guys. I'm going to be right behind you. And raise your hands again. All right, Dad. You'll be all right. You'll be all right. Dad. Sorry.
But
I'm
no,
going with you. All right, we'll meet after. We're all going.
it really is a special event, mainly because of these two guys, but it really is a special event, and deeply sick.
I have one quick story I have to tell you. So we went to dinner last night. So this is, I know we're supposed to be here promoting stuff, but we're all here. I have a microphone, so sorry. Too bad for you guys. No, so we were at dinner last night, and Andy Lincoln called. And he calls, and he's always like, "Hey, Big Love, what are you doing? Woo!" And he said, "What are you up to?" And I said, "I'm at dinner with John Landis." And he said, "I wanted to be a Blues Brother when I was younger," because he's young. He wanted to be in the Blues Brothers. So I said, "Well, do you want to say hi? I'm having dinner." He was like, "No, I'm way too shy. Don't put me on the spot." So I went in and I said to John, I'm on the phone with the lead of The Walking Dead, and he wants to say hello, and he's just giving his best wishes. And John was like, "Well, put him on, let me talk to him." He's like, no, don't put me on the phone. So Andy was so shy about it. I thought it was such a great moment. And then he's like, "I'm gonna go kill some zombies later, bye." Click. And hangs up. So anyway.
Well, we want to get some questions from you guys, so please raise your hands. We will get a microphone in your face. There we go.
Hi, my name is John Waterhouse. I'm from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. And this question is for John Landis. John, it's been more than 30 years since you made American Werewolf in London. The film is still being celebrated today, and tonight, once again, being celebrated as a maze. I mean, this has to be an incredible testament to your work as a filmmaker. How does it feel?
Strange. Honestly, the first time they did this 2 years ago, 2 years ago, and I was very happy with what they did, but I said the wolves should be better. The wolves are good, but the wolves should be better. And then they did it in LA differently, but the wolves were great. So I said, then when they called me and said, "We'd like to do it again." Really? They said yes, because it was so successful. I said, "Great, you must step up with the wolves."
When John Landis tells you to step up, you step up.
And I'm very happy to say they did. They're awesome. They're awesome. They really are awesome. And they have duplicated the maze, but they're more wolves. And they also changed something in Piccadilly, and I'm pretty happy with it. Although, I said this last time, what makes me crazy is people wait for 2 hours. They're waiting forever to get in the maze, and they walk in like this, and the first scare, and then they run. And I'm thinking, slow down.
Missing it. I learned a really interesting tidbit. Any of you here that are filmmakers or want to be filmmakers, I didn't know this about John. How old were you when you wrote the script for American Werewolf in London?
18.
18 years old. And he told, listen, I've known John for a long time. When you hang out with John Landis, a 5-minute drink turns into a 2-hour conversation, which is amazing.
Which is why Greg is drunk.
Which is why I'm drunk, but much smarter. Thank you. And he shared with me, which I'm sharing with you guys, because I think it's great, because I'm a fan and a nerd, like we said. The movie ended up being 90% of what that original.
Do you know the big change?
How great is that?
Well, no one would make the movie because it got me work as a writer, but no one would make it because they'd read it and they'd say two things. Either it was much too funny to be scary, or it was much too scary to be funny. And when you say it's both, they were like, "Get out of my office." It got me But the only difference in the movie, because I wrote it in '69 and I made it in '81, is in London there are no longer, but there used to be what were called cartoon cinemas, which were small movie theaters. There was the Arrows Theater in Piccadilly Circus, which is now a Gap store.
Yes, it is.
There was one in Marble Arch, and one in Victoria Station, and one in Trafalgar Square. And what they were they showed cartoons. They showed really good prints of Warner Brothers, and, really good This was before home video. So when I was working in London, I worked on a James Bond movie called The Spy Who Loved Me. So I was there a long time. I didn't direct it. I'm one of the many writers. Do you know who I worked with for 3 months?
See what I mean?
Anthony Burgess. Tony Burgess I worked with for 3 months. It was very exciting. Anyway, I used to go to the cartoon cinemas because it was the only way you could see like Chuck Jones or Tex Avery or Bob Clampett, good prints of those cartoons. And so when I wrote it, the scene in this was a cartoon cinema. It's exactly the same scene, only they were showing a Roadrunner cartoon. And the scene where he's changing and the bum is there, it was supposed to be little children looking at him. It's made it creepier, I thought. So I finally, in 1981, I get the money, I go to London. Most of the cartoon cinemas are closed. And the Aero Cinema is a porno theater. So I said, all right. So that's the only difference. Other than that.
Another question? Another question over here? Yeah.
Hi guys, John Ullman, Tampa Tribune. This is actually for both of you. You guys are icons as far as practical effects. Like you filmed the greatest werewolf transformation ever. And you have gotten things on TV, Greg, that no one would have ever imagined could be done. How important is it to have something like Halloween Horror Nights for the younger generation, for them to be able to experience practical effects up close and personal instead of CGI?
Listen, that's a great question. I mean, on The Walking Dead, the thing that is the most exciting for me is that it opens practical makeup effects for a younger generation. I grew up watching Dawn of the Dead, Creepshow, John's movies, The Thing. So I was really inspired by practical effects. So now when Chandler and I go to like a Walking Dead convention, I will have 10-year-old, 12-year-old kids coming up to me saying, I want to do what you do. And to me, that's me giving back, because I had that opportunity when I met Tom Savini in I don't even remember it was, 78 or 79. So for me, the fact that these guys, Mike Aiello and the amazing makeup team here, they get a chance to do it over and over again. And it's hard. Listen, when you do a movie, when we do a zombie kill or something, that zombie's on screen for maybe 3 hours. We shoot for 3 hours and then they get cleaned up and then we go home. But here, they got to do it 6-7 hours a night, every day for 30 days. It's a different kind of mindset. But for me, it's a tremendous compliment that the work that I love, that I grew up wanting to do, is being celebrated more and more. Halloween is like Christmas. Like, you get 30 days of it. Christmas is one day. Christmas presents and you're done. You eat turkey, you're full, you go to a movie. Now you get 30 nights. You can get scared over and over again. And these guys offer up multiple opportunities. You can go to 3 mazes one night. You can go to another maze another night. You just keep reliving the scares, and that's what makes it fun. And with these mazes, especially the Walking Dead maze that Chandler and I just went through, you go through it 2 or 3 times, you see something you didn't see the first time. It's like watching a good movie. You see it a few times, and then you go through again, and it's like, oh, I didn't see that the last time, and you enjoy it more. And then you're like, oh, they can't scare me, and then something else scares you. So
that actually brings up an interesting question. If I'm correct, Chandler, is this your first time at Universal Orlando's Halloween Horror Nights?
Yeah.
So, what did you think of walking through the Walking Dead house, seeing it? Like, what were some of your thoughts? What were your favorite moments?
Yeah, it was so cool just to like see all the walkers again actually like scaring me, because usually it's just like, they're just zombies on the set. It's like not that big of a deal, but then when they're actually like there and scaring you,
The zombies are at craft service.
it's true. There's like they're eating popsicles and they're hot and they're sweaty. And
When you guys also, you did a lights on of American Werewolf, right?
Here's the truth. And I was upset when they went through it. I said, why did you take Jim? Wait till the dark. Because these mazes, for me, they're like strip clubs or bars. It's supposed to be dark when the lights are on.
Okay, so next year, on the Halloween Horror Nights posters, I expect to see, they're like strip clubs or bars, John Landis. That should be in every ad.
That's a segment of the audience.
No, folks, John Landis, director of Animal House.
Well, to add to what Greg said, what I like about what these guys do in Halloween Horror Nights, in fact, theme parks in general, what I enjoy is the theatrical part of it. The fact that it's live theater. It's literally live. They now call it immersive theater, but it's legit. It's live theater, and they do song and dance. They do, it's not just boo. They're creating ambiance. They're building sets. They're doing, and for the people working here, it's quite an opportunity to get some chops, to learn your job and to experience live theater. It's something. I mean, for me, that's the most impressive thing. I mean, how many people are put on for Halloween Horror Nights?
In total, like who we employ for the
Yeah.
event?
About 1,200 a night, per night.
Per night. I mean, just for this, 12, and 800 of them were like, and stuff.
And then there are the characters.
When I was here too, is that guy here? Is that dentist here? That guy, the lawyer, the guy who comes.
Oh no, not this year, but no, that's like
The lawyer is the scariest guy here, by the way.
No,
I'm quite sure.
No, the lifeblood of the event are the characters that occupy the main
Characters.
It's
TM.
Come on, TM.
You know what?
We have lawyers in the room who are watching.
No, they left a long time ago.
Oh, John Landis is here.
Plausible deniability.
But so John, you think that I ruined it because here? All right, so let me ask a question.
I don't think you ruined it for him because he's an actor.
That's what you said backstage.
I think you ruined it.
No, but coming from a special effects background, and all of you guys know, part of the fun is peeking behind the curtain. When I get to come down here, I love going through the mazes with the lights on because I get to see the artistry.
Yeah, but you're a professional.
So is he.
Here's a good point, though. No,
That's it.
I'm not going to be referee.
But you bring up a good point, though, because we are, not only do we run the event 30 nights, but we also offer lights-on daytime tours.
I hate it.
Of the mazes. And here's the thing. People enjoy.
Mike, disengage.
Oh, disengage.
You're never gonna win. Who else?
No, wait. The guy
We
from
could do this all night.
Guy from Atlanta. Do you know what I learned about Chandler just earlier back there? I think this is so cool. I said, "Where do you live?" And where do you live?
Atlanta. Like north of Atlanta.
What was the town? Where are you from?
It's called Woodstock.
From Wood.
If one person didn't go, woo, I would have been pissed.
She's the other Woodstock. She's having an acid flashback. But what's so cool is I said, "Wait a minute, you live there?" He goes, "Yes." I said, "How long have you been on the show?" 5 years. "Were you local hire?" "Yes." How cool is that? Isn't that neat? So when they did the pilot, they hired, how old?
10.
10, and now you are?
16. So it's been 5 years since 2010.
Oh, okay.
We gotta do math up here.
I personally found that very cool, because he's a good actor.
Very good.
Well, you guys, you guys may not know, we are actually live streaming tonight, so we do have a question from social media.
You're live streaming tonight?
Now you tell me.
I wanted you guys to feel really sheepish at this point.
Let me back up and start over.
We have a question from Facebook, though, from Kristen Marissa Moya. Jim, how about you take this one? Talking about the construction, we've been talking about the lights on stuff. How long does it take to construct a haunted house, and what's the process like?
How long to construct?
To construct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Construction actually begins about May 1st, or ish, right around May 1. So from May 1 to the opening of the event, you're looking, several months. Design process from concept on, we're in concept now on next year's event. So opening night is tonight, we're already in concept on 2016. Can't tell you what it is. It'll be awesome, trust us. But physical construction starts May 1 on haunted houses. So it's a huge, long process. You can imagine building 9 of them. Everything that goes in, from scenic, all the decor, the special effects, lighting, audio, video in many cases. It's a long, long process. It takes hundreds.
Halloween for us literally is year-round. Over 365 to create.
I just want to say there should be a maze of this panel next year. I would go through it every day.
More questions? More questions?
Down front.
Yeah. There we go.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us. Aaron Sagers with Blaster.com. Hey, how are you?
Hi,
Good to
Aaron.
see you. Good to see you. I'm curious, now that you've seen what is possible through these excellent guys at Halloween Horror Nights, what's maybe some movies, classic, modern, whatever, that you would like to see transformed into maze form?
You're asking them?
No, them, yeah. Well, you guys can weigh in as well, but yeah, them.
Chandler, what do you think? What maze do you want to see?
People to see Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead. There you go. Original Dawn.
You could have zombies and shop.
You know, and that's a great idea because all the merchandise for Halloween Horror Nights could be in the maze. That you could grab stuff. That's a brilliant idea. See, I would, you know, Mike and I were talking about this earlier because I would love to see an Exorcist one. I would love, just because of the movies that scared me when I was a kid. That movie just still. And then I think, of course, if we went a little wackier again in the 80s, talk about 80s, I would say we should do an Escape from New York maze, which would be really cool. It's not necessarily scary, but you can, of course, these guys would add cool scares. So
Awesome.
I know. Now this is super geeky, and we'll probably, I don't know, we'll see one day. But I love, with an immense passion, Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
You don't know, brother.
I love that movie so much. Cotton candy cocoons.
I thought you were going to say I Love Lucy for a minute.
We have another question over here.
Yep, right over here. I have an easy one for the Walking Dead crew. My favorite show on TV right now is Walking Dead. So when you get off the set, what's your favorite show?
You know, I've been really into The Flash. You know, I don't know why, like, my dad watched it for a while and told me to get into it, and then I just watched, like, 16 episodes one day, and then, like, another 8 the next day, but I really enjoyed it. It's coming back on in, like, 2.5 weeks. I'm very excited for that.
I would say Game of Thrones for sure. As a matter of fact, I was at the Emmys last week, and I got to talk to the makeup people on Game of Thrones and American Horror Story and all my friends, and we were so excited about each other's shows that we didn't care that we both lost. But it was a Game of Thrones I love. American Horror Story one, actually, which I've never seen. I hate to say I've never seen it, but there are great makeups on that show. I love Homeland. I love The Americans. I just, there's so much great stuff on TV. There's, everybody talks, and John and I talked about this earlier. The stuff that we're able to do on TV now, some of the makeup effects and the gags that we do, George Romero got an X rating on the original Dawn of the Dead because it was so gory, and we're doing more on TV than he could do in the theaters in 1977. Wow. So it's pretty fascinating.
And AMC is commercial television. That's what's so remarkable. I mean, HBO and Game of Thrones is cable, there's pay TV, so they can be extremely stuff. But that's commercial television. And it's true. Their gags on Walking Dead. That if it was in a feature film, you'd get an R and then C-17.
Good question, thank you.
Awesome. Another question here?
This one will be more for Jim and Mike. Last year, I walked into the maze that had the dollhouse, and it smelled like Play-Doh, and that was just so creepy. Talk about how you assault all 5 senses.
Well, you've said it perfectly. I mean, that's the one thing we want to do with the guests as they're going through the mazes and try to attack as many senses as possible. Yeah. So smells are incredibly important. One of the coolest days that the team gets to experience every year is what we call Smell Day, and there is
It's not cool.
Oh, it's awesome. Where we have a vendor who is, she's a scientist. She creates smells, and she has a briefcase she'll bring in with all kinds of smells, from pumpkins to cupcakes to cookies to...
He's giving you all the good ones.
Yep. Because then, in the bowels of this suitcase is a smaller suitcase made out of metal.
Why it's called the bowel.
She then opens up, and it contains all of the most horrific things you could possibly think of. This woman also does work with the military and law enforcement to train them in certain types of smells. So she can actually chart rates of decay and give a certain smell for each one.
Okay.
So that's some of the research that goes into some of the items that we place in a maze, and when we want to. Not all the time, because if we do it in every maze, then it's not nearly as special as when, if you smell it in several mazes as opposed to all of them. But yeah, it's a smell day, and it's one of many days in our process.
So in Walking Dead, every day is smell day. It's 120 degrees. Every day is
beans
smell
for
day.
lunch.
Yes.
Gosh, that's awesome. Another one from Twitter, actually. I think I just love this question so much. Mike, why don't you take this one? What was the most difficult scene from a house or scare zone to pull off this year? I think that might highlight something cool.
Wow, that's a hard question. 3D mazes, rather than a scene, a 3D maze is a completely different creative process than all of the other 8 mazes. 3D employs all kinds of different aesthetics that we have to employ in order to lay the color palette out, to create the layers necessary with the glasses that the guests wear, so that we are ensuring that when you're going through, you are seeing depth. So that's a very tough type maze to create, because also it's a maze that's entirely lit. We're not afforded the luxury of doing things in darkness and then illuminating where we want. A blacklight maze has to be completely illuminated in some fashion for all of that to work. So 3D mazes, I think, in my opinion, and I'm sure...
You call them 3D mazes, but you mean blacklight mazes.
Yeah, the 3D's easy with the palette.
Chromodepth. Yeah, 3D, Okay.
But I'm sure every person on our team would probably have a different...
I've done 3D maze. Are you wearing glasses in the 3D?
You are. Yeah.
I know, but why?
Because the glasses actually, depending on the color palette, create depth. So certain colors...
So it is 3D.
It is. Certain colors...
Okay, so there are 8 mazes this year now. There's only 8.
I have to tell you, I'm going
John just shut one down.
I've never been in one of those, because I said, what is that? They go, what's cool? It's all black light. And it's all, and I'm like,
Yeah, but how the colors play out, there's depth. Certain colors pull forward.
There's now 7 mazes. The American Werewolf maze.
Are there people dressed? Are there
At the end of the night, it'll be Walking Dead maze, the only one you can go down.
Do we have another question?
Are they all?
They are. We've done some homework, John.
Right.
Okay, well, there you go. I'm glad I came.
Here we go, right up here.
Yeah, I had a question for John. I wanted to ask this a couple of years ago, but I kind of Andrew Lincolned out. I'm over here, right here. Hi. I think we'd all agree that the special effects in American Werewolf in London hold up to this day. And I'm curious how you feel about directors going back to old films like Spielberg with E.T. and Lucas with basically every movie he's ever done, going back and redoing the special effects. And were you ever tempted to go back and do that with any of your films?
Well, first of all, they wouldn't let me, so that's different. George owns his movies, so he can do what he wants. But that was totally not where I thought you were going. I thought you were going like practical versus CG, and I had this great answer. But then you.
But tell the story you told me backstage about the scene with the bums that you.
No.
Don't tell us.
No, you know what? No, because
That's a terrible story anyway.
It's not to the point. But no, I actually think that my personal opinion is that George hurt his movies by doing what he did. However, George said to me, "But they're my movies," and I thought, well, that's fair. However, did you know Disney, by the way, is putting out the original Star Wars the way it was and stuff? So
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, well, Disney, they're like money on the floor, you know.
I think they're like 30 miles from here, by the way.
We're on a 7-second delay, right? On the live stream, 7-second delay.
We're live. Yeah, live.
Cool. So let's go ahead and hit that.
Wait, I like Universal, like, we're not. But the truth is that, yeah, if I could, I don't think I've ever made a great film. I've made very successful films, and I've made some films I like more than others. In all my movies, there are things I like in them. But for instance, Coming to America is a movie I made with Eddie Murphy. And Coming to America is the fastest movie ever made. From the day they said you got what's called a green light, to the day it opened in theaters was less than 6 months. And I might add, there was no script when we got a green light.
Oh my God.
And that I've made 2 movies that way, where both Paramount for one and Universal, Blues Brothers, where they say, same thing, can you have this movie in theaters by August? And you always say yes. You know why? Because it means no budget. Because you're in production. So that's, so I was able to, like Coming to America, there's a big dance number because I could, it's like, and I've never, on the Blues Brothers, there's a famous moment where we're in Chicago shooting, and Ned Tannen, the head of production of Universal at the time, came out with this thing, said that that's a $12 million movie. And Bob Weiss, the producer, looked at me and he said, we've spent more than $12 million. I've never forgotten. Anyway, Coming to America, because it was made so fast, we literally were cutting negative, scoring, and mixing during principal photography. And the day it opened in about 4,000 theaters was less than 3 weeks from the last day of shooting. So we were locking picture. And so it meant, one, I never had a preview. I mean, just boom, went out, because those were prints those days. We had to give Technicolor 2 weeks to make all those prints. But the other thing is, that drives me crazy, that movie, because I think I like it, but I think it's too slow. I'd like to take maybe 15 minutes out of it, like speed it up, just just speed it up. So in fact, when it was going to be on Blu-ray, I asked Paramount, and I said, would I be able to do it? They looked at it, I'll never forget it. I won't tell you the man's name, but he said, John, the movie's made over $600 million. No.
We have another question? Right over here. Okay. I'm going to be right there.
They're fighting over it.
Mine. This is for Greg Nicotero. First of all, thank you very much for The Walking Dead. It is my favorite show on television by far. And I've been a zombie geek for decades now, and for a long time it was almost like Romero was pretty much the only game in town for really good stuff. And my question for you is, do you feel like you are a continuation of that legacy, or is there some kind of maybe competition of trying to top that?
Well, excuse me, my first job was Day of the Dead in 1984. That was my first gig. So George gave me my first job. I love those movies. I never saw any sort of competition, but if you look at the Walking Dead comic book, it certainly borrows religiously from Night of the Living Dead. So I'll never forget when we wrapped season 1, Frank Darabont and I were talking, and he said, do you think George would ever come down and direct an episode of The Walking Dead? And I called George, and he said, he goes, you have your zombie stuff and I have mine, and it's cool, and I have my world and you have, and they're different worlds. And I certainly respected that. I would have loved to have had him come down and shoot an episode. But the stories have diverged, and if you really think about it, the advantage that we have is we've had, by the end of this season, I think we will have had 83 hours to tell a zombie story. You go to a movies and you see it's 2 hours. You have to do everything that we're doing in 2 hours. So the fact that you get to delve into these great character moments makes it better. So having the first zombie show on television was a stroke of genius by Frank and Gallian Hurd, because you can tell this story in a continuing saga, hour after hour after hour. And that's something that these guys, when they were making the movies in the 80s, you never had that luxury to tell a story that long. So I think it has done a tremendous amount for the horror genre, for the zombie genre, because now zombies are pop culture. There's commercials and there's video games and
The
there's
zombies
Horror
are
Nights.
the monster of the zeitgeist, right? You know, for the last 5 years, it's all zombie. Look at the Republican debates.
We're actually going to do a question, gentleman next to you. Oh, okay. Well, then we'll get another question from Twitter. This is from @Vican1213. Mike, you can grab this one. What are some tips for a first-time Halloween Horror Nights attender?
So if you're coming to the event for the very first time, and this is the year doing it, you couldn't...
Sensible shoes.
Yes. Yes, comfortable footwear, and this couldn't be a better year for you to experience the event because you're really going to get a nice cross-section of our past. From I think the first maze you should go in line and stand in is our 25th anniversary maze. That single maze is going to give you a great table of contents of a lot of the environments and characters that our amazing team of people have created over the past 25 years. But even before that, definitely listen to John, Sensible Shoes.
Another question from the audience? One, maybe two more. We got one there.
Hi, this question is for Chandler, kind of unrelated to Horror Nights, but referring to the pudding scene in The Walking Dead, did you actually like pudding, and if after, did you not like it anymore?
I don't really eat much pudding. I never really did. But I mean, it wasn't bad pudding. I mean, you did a pretty good job. No, I wouldn't say that I like pudding anymore after that.
I tried to limit the number of takes to 72. We had 19.
Did you direct that episode?
I directed that episode. We had 19 jars of pudding, and the props guy, John Sanders, was like, "How many jars do you think we'll need?" I was like, I think I even went to Chandler, went to you at the beginning, and went, "We'll just try to keep this simple," because he had to sit there and take 4, and it was a very complicated shot because it was a techno crane shot. So the shot, we had to operate this crane, and the crane had to go up and see his shoes and him eating the pudding, and then the zombie arm behind him. So it wasn't just, it wasn't a simple shot. It was a little technical. So yeah, I'm glad that we were smart about that.
Too. And I think we have time for one last.
Do you know what? Can you do 2 more? Because that guy's
But she needs one too.
Well, thank you.
Do it at the same time.
This is, I guess, specifically for Mike. With all your history and years with this event, and now 25 being unleashed, any desire to put on some makeup and a costume and get out there for one last scare?
One night a year, we all, the show direction team, and I think, some of us go out and perform in the event. I was in the Purge Zone last year for a night. Laura, where did you go? Did you do it last year?
I didn't do it last year.
No? You've done it before, though.
I did it, the last time I did it was IOA. I was a vampire.
Yeah. So yeah, but I was Jack the Clown for 2000. I was one of the Jacks in the zones in 2000. So, but I can't compete with.
You want to know a cool secret? But there's a thing called Comic-Con in San Diego, which is now huge. But it used to be when my first movie premiered at the second Comic-Con. There were like 600 people. But anyway, when you go to Comic-Con now, if you have any celebrity, you really can't walk the floor. Because it's like everybody who'd recognize you in one place. So I was with Adam Savage, and actually I shouldn't say, I was with some famous people, recognizable people.
They were on Mythbusters.
We really wanted to go see stuff, and you can't. Well, I'll tell you, Guillermo del Toro, a bunch of guys. And so we all basically got these very cool monster masks. And so we would, so I didn't want to say anything, but incredibly famous people are here tonight playing monsters. You won't know. But so don't say anything to offend any of them. But there's a Texas Chainsaw, well, I won't say anything. Just platinum album.
Yeah, just say 2 words, Mission Impossible. He's out there somewhere.
I think we do have time for 2 more questions, so one right over here.
You did
Hi. I did it.
Finally.
Thank you guys for coming out here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All appreciate it, I'm sure. My name is Krista Thompson with thefairytaletraveler.com, and I've got a question
thefairytaletraveler.com.
The Fairy Tale Traveler.
Geek, travel, and lifestyle.
This is for fictional people, or is this?
It's for geeky people who love to travel and watch TV and films. So my question is for you, Chandler. I think you are phenomenal. At such a young age, starting out with The Walking Dead, serious pressure in that role, like the drama, amazing. My question is, as you evolve, do you ever find yourself interested in production? Like, you're a talent, so do you ever find yourself saying, man, I really want to make some zombies, or be on the other side, directing, producing, sound, anything like that? Do you ever find any of those things amazing?
Yeah. I mean, when the first season that I was on the show, Galen Hurd, who's one of the executive producers of Walking Dead, I can't remember what the context of the conversation was. She said, when you're 16, you can direct an episode if you want to.
When you're 16?
Yeah. And so...
Where was Galen Hurd when you were 16?
But yeah, and I think it'd be really cool to direct an episode, and I've been loving Greg's work, and I've been thinking about kind of shadowing him for an episode or two. Probably.
I get to see the next episode I direct. I'll try to get out of my trailer, and the door will be locked. And I'll be like, "What's going on?" And I hear Chandler on set, and action. What the hell? I can see it coming. Tuesday morning. All right. That was a great question. Thank you.
And then
better find out what
you were worth the wait.
One last question.
Somebody very enthusiastic.
You got to be really excited about this one. Right there? That's got to be it.
Now he's in that.
That is the guy who...
Pressure's on, man. This special better be great.
It better be good.
We'll make it great. John will make it great.
It is for John.
Good.
John, your son Max is sort of one of the up-and-coming screenwriters of Hollywood these days. I mean, he has Victor Frankenstein coming out, which seems like more of an action movie. But I'm kind of wondering if there's going to be a great Son of Landis horror movie somewhere down the line.
I have no idea. Max, my son, my wife Deborah, and I have 2 kids, and one of them is Max. Max has been writing scripts. He was dysgraphic, which means like all your doctors, you can't read their writing at all. And he really had problems with it when he was little. And so he worked with a thing called an Alpha Smart, which essentially was a keyboard. And so, which resulted in him at the age of 7, he could type faster than anyone in the world. And when he was 8 years old, they came out with a program called Final Draft, which now everyone uses, and I bought it for him. And Max has been writing screenplays since he was 8 years old, and he's written hundreds. And he always had, when he was little, he had the best titles. One was called Days of the Worst. One was Love and Trouble. My favorite was Yelp and Dopey. Anyway, he's always been a writer, and he's a wonderful writer. I mean, he really is
the real deal.
He's the real deal, and so damn prolific. It's annoying. I mean, he just churns it out. Listen, he's got 5 films that opened this year. American Ultra already came out, and a movie called Mr. Right. By the way, I've seen none of them.
I saw American Ultra. It was good.
American Ultra I saw. It's really good, actually. But the Chronicle, his film, was really good. He's got Victor Frankenstein.
2 TV shows he's doing.
Well, he's now running a show, another version. Oh man,
Is it
Douglas Adams, Dirk Gently, which they're about to start shooting. But he's amazing, and he's totally. By the way, he's completely done this by himself. When he was a teenager, like 13, 14, I used to take scripts and go in LA and say to the agents, really, you should look at my son, like, you should read this. And it was fascinating because, I guess because he was my son, or I don't know why, I couldn't get him an agent, because they don't read, they were like, that's one of the reasons why they're making so many graphic novel movies now. Because they look at it and go, oh, I see what it is. Anyway, Max is amazing, and I haven't seen Victor Frankenstein, but he wrote it as Frankenstein. It stars Daniel Radcliffe and James McAvoy, and that beautiful girl from Downton Abbey. I don't know her name. Who? The oldest daughter, the really elegant one with the dark hair. The one. I don't. No, not Cinderella. Yeah, Michelle. Thank you. Her. Anyway, and it was directed. It's British. It was all British production. And I haven't seen it. I don't know anything about it except that it was the best script I've ever read. And I really. And not only was it the best script I ever read, but it really pissed me off because I said, Max, why wouldn't you think of showing this to me? You know, and what people all the time say to me, you know, why don't you have your, he's very hot now, and they say, why don't you have your son Max write you a script? And I answered truthfully, I can't afford Max. The good news is he's off the payroll. Bought his own house, his own car. But he's insane and brilliant. And you've known him for years. Wait, okay, listen to this. So Max was at the University of Miami for, I think, 2 years or a year and a half. During which time, on his own, he got an agent and a manager. Anyway, tell the story.
Oh yeah, well, I met Max. There was a friend of ours was doing a documentary, so we went down about being a kid that's a fan of the monster genre, and we were interviewing Max for the documentary. And after we got done, he said, "Yeah, so thanks. I gotta move. My dad's picking me up in 2 days because I'm flying back home. Can you help me move my couch to the dumpster out front?" I went, "Yeah, okay." So we picked up his couch, awful college couch, awful, and carried it to the dumpster. That's the first time I met him, and we've been friends ever since. He's just a really cool kid, and obviously you're a proud dad.
I'm very proud and nervous all the time.
There were probably 9 scripts in that couch, by the way. I would have gone into the
movies that have become the lexicon and interwoven into all of my communication. But I'm not here for just me. Greg, met this morning, had a chance to talk, and I told you that I got a good buddy that is huge into your movies. By the way, I want to skip you over Chandler. It's like watching an Olsen twin grow up in a horror movie. It's freaking awesome. I can't wait till you get facial hair. It's going to be...
His voice is deeper than Andy Lincoln's, though, just so we know.
But my good buddy here, Ryan, last day with us as a director. He's moving on to a brand new show, but he's told me everything about you. One question for you, Greg, is that you have credits on both Boogie Nights and Goldmember.
Yes, exactly.
What were those parts? And my final question to you, and as you said in the very beginning, you have the microphone so you kind of control the audience. If I hold this microphone long enough, may my friend Ryan, a huge horror fan, nerd, come up and take a selfie with you.
Of course, well, listen, he can do that anyway, no problem. We'll do
Ryan,
that.
go take a picture. Now, which members did you work on?
Wait, Ryan, he promises to stay here when they're finished. And then come up, okay? Don't do it now. Thank you.
Boogie Nights, yes. Goldmember, you know, we got a call from Paul Thomas Anderson to make a prosthetic. There's kids probably around here somewhere, so I can't really get into too much detail, Chandler.
He made the
He's not a kid anymore, but you know what I mean. But I have to say, one of the oddest things is, for about 10 years, people would introduce me as, "This is Greg Nicotero, he made the penis in Boogie Nights." That was my opening line. And I'll never forget, I was with Dana Gould. Sorry, we're live streaming, right? Yeah, I know. See that? Turn that shit off. Sorry. But I was at a Simpsons table read with a friend named Dana Gould, who's a brilliant comedy writer, and he was one of the writers on The Simpsons, and he invited me down, and I sat and listened to all the actors read the script. It was one of the greatest moments to watch them do all the voices. And so Dana introduces me to all the actors afterwards, and that's how he introduced me. "This is Greg, he did the penis in Boogie Nights." And I, at one point, said to Frank Azaria, "I've done other movies too. I've done a couple other things. I did The Green Mile, I did Dances with Wolves," but nobody cared. They just wanted... Fortunately, thanks to Walking Dead, now I have 2 things I can talk about. But Richard, thank you. It's very nice what you said today. And I just want to say, everybody, this has been really fun. Thank you guys all for being enthusiastic and listening to our silliness up here. Thanks.